The biggest mistake you can make when dealing with narcissistic abuse is not realizing how much it affects your mental health. And here's the thing, that mental stress doesn't just stay in your head, it can affect your body too. You might start skipping showers, eating poorly, or just not taking care of yourself like you used to. The chaos in your mind starts to show up in your daily habits, leaving you feeling pretty low. So let's talk about how narcissistic abuse impacts your mental health and hygiene, and what steps you can take to start feeling better. Are you ready for number 1? Impaired concentration. Narcissistic abuse can seriously mess with your ability to focus on even the simplest tasks. It's like your brain gets so tangled up in their drama and mind games that things like showering or brushing your teeth start to feel nearly impossible. It's as if your needs are shoved into the trunk of a speeding car heading straight for a cliff, ignored and forgotten. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, a clinical psychologist, explains that this constant manipulation and gaslighting can cause what's known as cognitive fog. It means your mind feels cloudy and unfocused, making it tough to concentrate on anything else. Let's talk about number 2, emotional numbness. Narcissistic abuse can leave you feeling emotionally numb. You're just going through the motions without really feeling anything. Your emotions get turned off and you detach from everything, including your well-being. This emotional numbness can make it hard to care about things that once mattered to you, like taking care of yourself. When you don't feel connected to your emotions, you might stop seeing the point in doing basic hygiene tasks because you just don't feel anything about it. It's like the part of you that used to care has gone silent, and as a result, personal hygiene falls by the wayside. As therapist Shannon Thomas explains, victims of narcissistic abuse often experience a kind of emotional anesthesia, making it hard to connect with their own needs. Let's move on to number 3, increased dependency. When you're with a narcissist, you get caught up in making sure they're happy. You get practically glued to them and looking for approval like a lost puppy searching for a treat. In this whirlwind, you start depending on them for everything. Validation, support, and maybe even a reason to get out of bed. And guess what? That toothbrush and shower routine suddenly seem less important. Dr. Craig Malkin, a clinical psychologist, says that narcissistic abuse can make you feel like you're only worth what they think of you, which leads you to neglect your own needs, including basic hygiene. You're so busy trying to be their cheerleader that you forget to cheer for yourself. Now let's continue to number 4, emotional instability. Narcissistic abuse can make your emotions feel like a roller coaster swinging from one extreme to another without warning. One minute you might feel fine, and the next, you're overwhelmed with sadness, anger, or anxiety. These constant mood swings make it hard to stick to a daily routine, including taking care of basic things like showering or brushing your teeth. On top of that, you might find yourself more irritable than usual, snapping at little things, which makes focusing on personal care even harder. When your emotions are all over the place, it's tough to find the energy or motivation to keep up with hygiene, and it just gets pushed to the back burner. You shouldn't miss number 5, cognitive distortion. Narcissistic abuse can mess with your thoughts, making you see things in a twisted way. This cognitive distortion can make you believe you're not worth the effort, so why bother with self-care? Psychologist Dr. Aaron Beck would say you've fallen into a negative thinking trap, where your thoughts are as twisted as a pretzel. When a narcissist messes with your mind long enough, you start believing their lies, that you don't deserve to take care of yourself. These negative thinking patterns can convince you that self-care isn't important or that it won't make a difference. As a result, personal hygiene gets neglected because your abuser made you believe that it doesn't matter. Are you still up for number 6? Fear of abandonment. Narcissistic abuse can create a deep-seated fear of being abandoned, which can seriously mess with your self-care routines. If you're constantly worried that someone will leave you or that you're not good enough, you might start focusing so much on keeping others close and trying to please them that you forget to take care of yourself. This fear can make you neglect personal hygiene because you get consumed with the anxiety of being left alone or rejected. Therapist Dr. Karen Horney explains that this fear can make self-care seem like a betrayal, thinking that focusing on yourself might push people away. Instead of spending time on things like grooming or personal care, you might focus more on clinging to relationships or constantly seeking reassurance, letting your well-being slide. Let's keep it moving to number 7, Existential Crisis. Narcissistic abuse can throw you into an existential crisis, making you question the whole point of life and your place in it. Finding the motivation for basic self-care can be hard when constantly doubting your existence and purpose. You might think, why bother with personal hygiene if nothing matters? This sense of purposelessness can drain your energy and make self-care seem pointless. It causes you to neglect things like taking showers or keeping up with grooming because you get so wrapped up in these bigger, deeper questions. Here comes number 8. Social anxiety. Imagine being so anxious about social interactions that you're practically hiding under your bed, clutching your favorite blanket like it's your shield from dragons. Narcissistic abuse can crank up your social anxiety to the point where even the thought of stepping outside feels like a grand adventure into the unknown. Dr. Ellen Hendrickson, a clinical psychologist, explains that this intense fear can make even simple self-care routines seem overwhelming. If meeting someone new makes you break out in a sweat, then taking a shower or even brushing your teeth might feel like preparing for a red carpet event. So, when social anxiety has you locked in a battle with your reflection, remember, it's not just about avoiding social scenes. It's about feeling so terrified of judgment that even the basics of personal care seem like Herculean tasks. Let's talk about number 9, compulsive behaviors. When you've been through narcissistic abuse, you might start to notice some pretty strange behaviors popping up in your daily life. For example, you might get stuck in repetitive actions like obsessively checking your phone or repeatedly redoing tasks. It's like your mind is trying to grab onto something familiar and controllable amidst the chaos. But these compulsive behaviors take over your time and energy. These distractions can seriously mess with your self-care routines. You might skip basic things like showering or grooming because you get so wrapped up in these repetitive actions. These compulsions become a way to cope with stress and manipulation, but ironically, they just make it harder to maintain your regular hygiene routine. Finally, we're down to number 10, self-destructive behavior. When you get caught in the web of narcissistic abuse, self-destructive behavior can feel like the only thing you've got control over, and neglecting your hygiene is just one part of that messy package. It's like deciding that if life's already a dumpster fire, you might skip the basics and let the flames burn brighter. Dr. Marsha Linehan, creator of dialectical behavior therapy, points out that self-destructive behavior often arises from deep emotional pain, making even brushing your teeth feel like an act of rebellion. If you're neglecting personal care because you got caught in a cycle of self-sabotage, remember, it's not just about skipping the shower. It's a sign you're fighting a battle where the real fight is for your well-being. We've covered a lot about how narcissistic abuse can mess with your mental health and throw your self-care routines out the window. But here's the good news. Recognizing this connection is the first step toward healing. By understanding how deeply this abuse can affect you, you're in a better position to start making changes. So, take it one step at a time. Start with small self-care habits and be kind to yourself. Remember, it's okay to seek help and lean on supportive people. You're not alone in this, and with time and effort, you can start to reclaim your well-being.